Welcome, guys, to the Jason Diaz channel. This is episode number 3, and today we have Dennis from YouTube. If you guys have seen any Tesla content, then you probably know him. But Dennis, go ahead and just kind of let them know, who you are and what you do, and how you started.
Sweet, yeah. Thanks for the invite, Jason. My name is DENNISCW. I have a YouTube channel. Well, actually, it's posted on all socials now: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. And I primarily talk about like Tesla buying content. So, like how to get the best deal, how to get the best financing rate, low payments, and everything. Because Tesla, even though it's kind of direct to consumer, it still can be confusing to most. And they do play a lot of pricing games. So, I try and give a good input and visibility so that people can get the best deal on a Tesla because they're still expensive cars at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people love Teslas, and one of the things that I think has helped too is that the market has grown for it because they're a little bit more affordable now, right? Before it was like, in order to have a Tesla, it was like $80,000 car or whatever, and now the Model 3 is a little bit. I feel like it's more affordable, right? I'd rather take a Model 3 over like a Honda Accord if you're into the electric cars, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like Model Y, like a year and a half ago was like a 70 to $80,000 vehicle. Now it's maybe mid 40s after tax credit and everything. And
Yeah.
so more people are starting to get understand how cheap they are. But I still feel like because the infrastructure isn't there, and especially now a lot of people own their houses in California, it's going to take time to get people into an electric vehicle. And still, until it's like a stupid deal, like
Yeah.
$100, $200 a month. It's going to take a bit.
Nice. So Dennis, I know we met through me tinting your Tesla, and and we've known each other for a few years now, and I think we have a pretty good relationship and friendship, I think, at this point, right? So, but I really wanted to bring you on here and kind of allow people who are viewing this to kind of get more insight on how you built your YouTube channel, because you have such a large following, and on your social media and your primarily your YouTube. I mean, it's like you're so consistent, you're gaining followers. I mean, you've met some great celebrities too. So my question is like, what, take us back to where you first started. Like, what is it that got you into the whole, filming yourself, and, what motivated you to kind of get going on that?
Yeah, I've always like loved the video creation, I think, and YouTube back in the day when it first started, you start to see some of the people that are posting and you want to try and replicate. I've always loved trying new things, new experiences, and I think that's what got me into the Tesla vehicle initially, is just curiosity of Tesla vehicles. And then from that, I wanted to document it through videos. And in the beginning, I was just posting videos and probably doing it the wrong way, like trying to mimic what everybody else was doing, like that vlog
Mm-hmm.
style content. Like, hey guys, I got a Tesla. Hey guys, I put tints on it. Hey guys, like I bought this accessory, and it did okay. Like I was actually making, and not like crazy money, but it was paying some of the payment. Like initially, I was still making like $300 to $500 a month, like just posting those type of videos,
Nice.
and which is not bad, right? Pays for some of the payment, and
Yeah.
like I could justify it. But the time I was spending to do that probably didn't make a lot of sense at all. And for a while, I did that like 2 years, just posting vlog style videos, and then I started to like kind of take a look at the market, what was out there. And then you talked about like some people I've met, like Meet Kevin, which was really cool to meet like 6 months ago. But I like watched this stuff a lot, and Meet Kevin was really cool. He like gave a behind the curtains look into like how he produced videos, and everything was one take. Like he would just start record, stop record. He had a studio just like this, and it was just record, minimal edit, post. And so that
Wow.
was really inspiring to me. It's like, okay, like you can be efficient at this. You can make content without editing for hours and afterwards. So that got me thinking like, okay, well, what can I talk about that's like a daily news type of thing? Well, let's talk about Tesla news. And so I just started looking into it and just going live every single day, and just staying committed to it. And of course, in the beginning, I didn't get too much traction, but I really feel like social media is like, it's for the insane. You got to just keep posting with minimal success. And then maybe one day after the 300 video, you'll get some success. And you have to not really look at it from like a monetary view, but just like, how can I do better every single video after, over and over again? So for about 2 years now, I've been just talking about live streaming and news and Tesla buying tips and everything like that.
Yeah, I've noticed. I mean, you've created such an amazing following that, I think the first time we met, I tinted your Model Y, and I kind of want to give people the intake on this. So I'm a big believer that you create your own opportunities, and sometimes when you go above and beyond, you build relationships that with people that you really didn't know were gonna help you in such a great way. And I think one of these instances was when I met you, and you never told me, hey dude, I'm filming on YouTube, I'm gonna upload this on YouTube. Like, you never told me anything like that. Whereas I feel like I had a lot of people at that time when I had opened my shop, they were like, hey, like, I have X amount of followers, and like, I'll post you on there if you give me a deal. And like, and with you, it was never like that. And I think that's why I admired your character. And so pretty much what happened was, you called me, like, I think you called me or messaged me like somewhere in the middle of the day, and you're like, hey man, I need to get my windshield redone and my two front windows, and I got it done somewhere else, and it's such a the job doesn't look so great. And
Yeah.
I kind of tell you, all right, swing it by and we'll get it done for you or whatever. And I think maybe it was just the windshield, but we ended up doing like the two front doors again.
Yep.
I know you got it to him somewhere else in like Long Beach or something like that. And when you first came in, I was kind of hesitant because I was looking at the job and the hours it was going to take, and I'm like, man, we're going to go over hours. Like, I don't know if my guys want to stay past 6, or however long it's going to take, because we got to remove it, and
Yeah.
it's a lengthy project. But I remember you said like, oh man, the thing is, I'm coming out from LA,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, shoot, like, I told my guys, hey, look, this guy's coming from LA. If he came down here, man, and he wants to get the job done by us, like, why not just get it done, right? Let's stay a little bit longer and get it done for him. And and we did, right? We got
Yep.
the job done. It came out great. And I think a week passed, and within the first 3 weeks, I get people coming in, and they're like, I would ask them like, hey, how'd you hear about us? And some people would say like, oh, I found you guys on Yelp, but I also I followed this guy, and he said he came here too, and he was so excited, and he's like, so it was a no-brainer for me, like, I had to come. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, like, for sure, like, I wonder who it is, right? Like, maybe a client of ours or something, maybe he just mentioned us. And maybe that same week, like 3 or 4 people came by and they said the same thing, and I was like, what the heck? Like, okay, so whose video are you guys watching? Like,
Yeah.
who is this guy, right? I'm like, so about the 5th person, I told him like, can you do me a favor and just send me the link to whatever video? Like, this is like the 5th time I'm hearing this. And they sent me the link, and I see it, and I'm like, what? Isn't that guy that I'm like, dude, that's the guy from LA that we did the Model Y for. So I was like, wow, what a trip. Like, I never, I looked at your videos. I'm like, wow, he has pretty good amount of views. And like, and that's when I realized like, wow, like, sometimes you go above and beyond, man. You create your own opportunities, and, you're there, and I've tried to help you out on your cars when you bring them in now. And,
Yep.
without, and that's one thing I tell all your referral clients. I always let them know, like, there is nothing that Dennis has on the table with me. Like, Dennis has never asked me for any money. He's never said, hey, like, I'll refer people to you and cut me a check, or,
Yeah.
give me a kickback or anything like that. I'm like, whatever Dennis says, he's authentic. Whatever you guys see on YouTube, that's who Dennis is.
Yeah.
And, that's why I have so much respect for you, because I've come across people who, they use their following, and I get it. It's all, it's all business, right? But some people you meet online are not as genuine and authentic when you meet them in person, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of like how they say you don't want to meet your superheroes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because then you realize they're not the person you thought they were.
Yeah.
But I think you're one of the few people that
Thank you.
you can see online, and you're legitimately this person. So authenticity, I think, is I think is one of your amazing traits, as a human. And so that's kind of how I met you, and we've kept the relationship for a long time. I know you brought me the first Cybertruck, so I was the first tint shop
Yep.
in Orange County to tint a Cybertruck because of you. And I was just like, I was so stoked for you. I was happy for you, and I was happy for us, because we got to see it firsthand before any other shop did. And in fact, there hadn't been one delivered, I think, in like OC or anything like that, because everybody was like wondering like, how the hell did he get a Cybertruck in this? I mean, there were shops that literally would call me and be
You
like,
get a bunch of messages.
yeah, like how did you get that? Like there's no way. Like I talked to a service rep here and they said, no, they're probably from LA, and we haven't delivered one in Orange County. So
Yeah.
I think that relationship is just so great, right? And but
No, that's crazy though. Like, it's interesting. We both kind of grew up together, or both grew through our businesses separately. But I guess I just saw something, and that video was like a great story because, well, even though I didn't plan it at all, but the shop I went to, I just paid for the cheapest tint possible because I was never a believer in high quality tint and everything. And so they just did it. I was like, okay, whatever. And then I started driving because that was also my first windshield tint ever done.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, is this right? Like, why am I seeing stuff?
Yeah.
And then after you kind of like completely changed my perspective on like good quality tint, like actually paying for it and the good materials, and especially on the windshield and everything. And then I think it's just your philosophy. You take care of your customers. Because what really stuck out to me, and I still say it to this day, I don't know if you actually still have this policy, but you probably do if like stuff came down to it. But right when I paid for that tint, you said, hey, like I got this protection that no one else has. If you ever get a police ticket, I'll get it done again. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's amazing. Like, I mean, what are the odds I actually got a tint ticket later on in the years, but like, what are the odds people get it? Like, that's a great coverage, and you're thinking for your customers, which is amazing. And so I think
and we still offer that. Like, I still hold true to it to this day, man. Like, and even if people lose the receipts, I always tell them, look, if you show me any sort of proof that you've been here before, I will take care of it. Like, I don't fight anybody. I don't try to screw anybody. I'm just super honest and transparent with my clients, and even when potential clients ask for me to do something and I just can't do it, I rather be honest with them. And I always tell them, hey, you know what? I can't make it happen for you. And, you lose some business and you gain some business, but at the end of the day, I sleep well at night, and I think authenticity, like I was talking about earlier, is just something that some people don't, they're scared to be, right? They're scared to be authentic. They're scared to be imperfect. And I think, in a world like that, I think, people that stay true to that value are the ones that kind of go, they go farther in life. And that's why we've done so well in my business, because that's, as long as I'm transparent, I'm looking out for my clients. I want them to win too. I don't just want to, be the only one winning. I want, I run the business. Yes. It helps feed everybody there, but at the end of the day, you have to care for your consumer, right? You have to care for the client, and that'll keep you in business in the long run. And that's kind of how you manage your YouTube too, right? Like, you're value based. You bring value to people. You do the work and you do the reading and research that most people don't have time to do, and you kind of like put it together and you deliver it to them. So or to us, and we're able to get all those golden nuggets from your time that you spend researching this stuff, right?
Right.
So it's nice that you bring exposure in that sense too. But so Dennis, so pretty much you started off, and I'm just kind of going back to the story. You started off by filming a little bit, and like, when did at any point you see yourself like kind of wanting to give up, or at any point did you get tested in the sense of, like, man, maybe this isn't for me. And the only reason I say this is because I got to that point in my business where at one point I was so stressed out of my mind, I was willing to just like quit. I was just like, you know what? I'm done with this. Like, I was so stressed, man. I just don't want anything to do. I'll lose the money on my lease and I'll close the shop and call it a day, and I'll figure something out. So did you have any moment like that where you felt like giving up, but something in you told you, you know what? Like, I got to continue.
That's where I go back to like social media is for the insane, because the first 100 videos, like, you should really commit if you're interested in social media to like 100 videos, and the first 99 are going to suck, or maybe like the first 49 are going to suck, and like the 50th one you get like 1,000 views and you're like, oh yes. And you can't base it upon like money at all. You just have to base it on like what you can control as an individual. Like, how many videos can you push out, not on views or subscribers or anything like that. And how can you just make it better? And it was tough. Like, but I think I had the clear expectation from the beginning, like, hey, I'm just going to keep trying. And luckily, and I know not everybody in the beginning is going to have this success, but I mean, out of the gate, I was making like some money, like whether it's, $10 or $100 or $300. And so I did see some success, but I'm definitely like the glass is always half or half full, right? Instead of half empty,
Mm-hmm.
like thinking on the positive side, like, hey, let me try and rework this again. And with YouTube especially, like a lot of people who create videos, like they also watch a lot of videos, and you have to like dissect, like, okay, when I watch this video, what did they do? What's the structure? How do they work on the pacing and all that stuff, or what's the title, what's the thumbnail, and just being like a craft at that as well. But I mean, certainly there was times where it's like, why am I doing this? And you just got to get up and post another video, and if it bombs, it bombs. And even now, like some videos do way better. Like I'm certainly riding off of the Cybertruck high,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because now it's fading like anything else, and I'll post a Cybertruck video now, and maybe it gets a couple thousand views, but it's like, hey, like, it's fine. It's like I'm documenting it for other purposes instead. But now it's just interesting. Like I'm having, like my live streams is still doing great on YouTube. And it's probably the most stable. And it doesn't take me that long at all to do that type of content in terms of researching, going live and posting it. And I have an editor that helps on the back end for the clips. But TikTok is nuts. It's like you'll spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes recording a video and post it, and it'll get like 50,000 views. And actually the TikTok pays now as well. So it's like, it's interesting to see like the effort, because I look at everything like how much effort I'm going to put into it to post it.
Mm-hmm.
Like effort on a TikTok to go viral and to get paid is like nuts. And so it's like, I tell everybody, hey, the days of like posting 100 videos on YouTube, that's kind of over. Test your first principle on what you're trying to post on TikTok first. And then if you get success, then go to YouTube afterwards and try to do longer content. And so it's really interesting to see that.
That's a good tip. I
yeah.
mean, because I'm just starting to kind of get back on social media, and I held my page, like my personal accounts, I was always kind of private about it, right? And I didn't like a lot of exposure, but as I continue to see a lot of content online of like fake gurus and people that I knew, and that like on a personal level, I was like, what, like, bro, like you don't live that life, right?
Oh, geez.
I was kind of like, you know what, like, let me give some exposure to as a business owner and someone who's built who's gotten over 7 figures in sales in their own business. Let me give some exposure back to some people, right? And hopefully they're able to grab some of these golden nuggets that I'll share and in my content, they'll learn from it.
Right.
But I think that's such a great thing because I haven't started my TikTok yet, my personal account, right? And I don't know if it's because I'm a millennial, like I don't really, when TikTok first started, it was like a whole Gen Z thing, right? Like,
yeah,
like a lot of Gen Zers
you don't want
are
China
on there.
on your phone.
Yeah, and so it's for me, it's brand new, so I'm gonna work on getting my TikTok account open, and I'm gonna share some of my videos on there. And I do have it for our business page. We do have a TikTok page where we upload, and it's 100% true. Like there's so much more traction on TikTok now. Like we'll upload let's just hypothetically say we one of the videos, I think, let's say the Cybertruck video, and it'll do like 5,000 views, and like we only have like 100 followers.
Yeah.
Whereas if you post that same video on Instagram, you might only just get like a few hundred views, right?
Yeah.
But the interesting thing too about TikTok is like, if you're looking for something, you can legitimately just go on the search engine and type in Cybertruck wrapped red. Yeah. And there's like videos on like a red Cybertruck, right? Yeah. So
and Gen Z is using TikTok as their search engine now. Like it's already surpassing it. And like I ask all the young people all the time that I see, like, hey, what do you use to find stuff? And they say TikTok first and then Google.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
And that's what I'm saying. Like I think that's where I started to realize too, I'm like, dude, I need to get on social media. Like it seems like there's a lot of stuff going on, and now, like I told you, I was working more on like creating a course to teach people how to tint, just to kind of share some more value, right? But going back, Dennis, to when you started and like the whole social media thing, how important was like the $300 to $500 like at that time? And like was it like a big deal to you, or was it just nice to have some extra cash flow coming in? And what does that look like now, right? So what is like the best video you've ever kind of made, like how much has it been? So let's say you started off and you said like, hey, I got like a video that did $200 or 300, and then what does that look like now? Like, has it grown exponentially? Is it like $1,000 now, or what is it
Yeah,
like?
it's interesting. Like in the beginning, I say like, oh, you should try and base it off of how much you can produce and just getting better. But we're all human, so we're still going to look at views and subscribers. But you just can't put all the weight into that. But it was cool. It was definitely important to see some success from the videos in the early days, making some money. But it was also like cool to meet all these people and get all these accessories. Because the funny thing with Tesla is like you could be really small, and as long as you post something about Tesla with accessories, there's like hundreds of Chinese companies that are willing to spam your email to send you free stuff in hopes that you make a video on it so that they can get sales on it. So that was interesting, and it's cool to get all these accessories for free essentially in the beginning. But now it's like my best video recently has been I asked Tesla Cybertruck owners their monthly payment, where I like found like 10 of them, and I just like put a mic in their face and was like, hey, how much did you pay for this? Oh, what's your monthly payment? How much do you pay for insurance? Oh, what do you do, by the way? And how much do you make? And it actually got, I think, like 250 to 300,000 views, and that nets you about like $3,000. So it's like not too bad. Of course, if you're someone on YouTube, you kind of know that, or if you're a creator on YouTube, you know that certain niches or topics get paid higher than others. So like gaming is like the worst because it's like Minecraft and things like that is really low, but business and finance is one of the highest. And so I'm kind of in the middle between like automotive and business and finance because I talk about monthly payments. And so it's like, it's okay actually. I think it's like $18 CPM, which is not bad. But now, depending on the video, depending on the live stream, I can net anywhere from 8 to 20 a month. But it's like top of funnel. So like YouTube is just a sliver of it through AdSense, and then it leads to everything else like affiliate sponsors, Patreon, and everything else. So it's nice. Like the biggest months, 20, 25, the lower months, like 8, actually minimum 8. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's a huge accomplishment, man.
Yeah.
Because
But at the same time, I also know like, or maybe it's just the pessimist in me, like this could end at any moment. And like, I'm still getting used to like, is this actually a stable thing? Like, will this always be there as long as I keep posting? Like, what if one day, but I guess that's the trust you put in YouTube and Google and things like that. And like maybe TikTok creators might be scared because it could get banned, but who knows? Like,
how long has it been since you started posting? Like, what year was it that you started posting your first video?
So the first video was I bought a 2019 Model 3, and that's when I was documenting more of it. And then that's like the vlog style content that was doing like maybe 300 to 500 a month. And then in 2022, no, 20, it's been 2 years, give or take, since I've been doing the live streams, and that's been way more consistent because I can just go live at home and talk for 15 minutes, and then it gets clipped up and then sent out, and then I make some TikToks and stuff. Yeah.
Nice. So you pretty much started kind of when I started, because I opened up my shop in 2019, and you started recording it in 2019. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting. But like, how has how much of an impact has this made to like your personal life? Like, do you have less time for family? Do you have more time? Has there been any hardships in that sense with like, because I know creating videos takes such a long time, right? Because I'm getting into the space, and I'm realizing how much energy it drains from you, and just right. I think like just management and time, and trying to find the time to record, and not only that, but coming up with the topics, right, of what you're going to cover. And it's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of mental work.
Yep.
And I know like some people get heat on Instagram, and they're like, you don't know what hard work is. Like, you're a creator, you're an influencer, right? But you'd be surprised. Like, I see those comments, and I'm like, man, you guys should try it. Try it for a month and tell me you won't, you don't feel like giving in.
Yeah.
But so how does that look like for you?
I mean, you basically have to be your own media company studio. And now it's a little bit more easier because you start to see patterns, and you know what works ish and what doesn't work. But I mean, I'm like, I know you said I'm big, but I still think I'm like pretty small. Like, but at least I'm getting some success for it. But like you have to, like, I edited all my videos in the beginning, and I'm very appreciative of that because it forced me to learn how to edit, shoot, use a camera, and all that stuff. and because you have to learn those things so that when you do pass it on to an editor at some point, you kind of know what they're doing, and you can also clearly explain what you want done to them so that they could go from it. But nowadays with CapCut, like you actually, like I learned on Premiere Pro, and there's a steep learning curve on Premiere Pro because it's so technical, and like it's an Adobe product and you have to watch tons of YouTube videos. But now with CapCut, like it's pretty easy to edit a video on your phone, I think, but maybe it's because I'm talking from experience. But CapCut makes it so easy that you can just edit stuff and post. What was the question?
Yeah, sorry. So pretty much what I had asked was like how has your life changed in the sense of just,
Oh, right.
creating the content and like having, do you have less time for family to do extra activities, or do you see yourself actually having more time now than
Definitely
ever?
less time. In the beginning, like you're running out on the weekends using a camera and then editing for 2-3 hours on a simple edit because you don't know how to do anything else. And so, yeah, it was definitely taking a lot of time. And that's where I go like, yeah, I was making maybe $300 to $500, but the time I spent doing that, it equaled probably minimum wage, if not less. But it was still fun to do it. And that's why you really have to have a passion of making videos and have a passion of what you're talking about, because you'll quickly get burned out if you're just trying to do this for money. If you're doing it for other reasons, like documenting like a diary or documenting your memories or experiences or trying to like build value with someone, then you'll be able to do it long term. But now, still, it takes up an hour of my day to work on the live stream, and then if I'm making any vlog content on the Cybertruck, then yeah, that's the weekends, hours to film, and then uploading the footage and shooting it to an editor. But yeah, you have to invest into it, and so maybe people will you burn a lot of time and then check out and then burn out, but you have to kind of have like the right vision, like why are you doing this and what's the reasoning for it. Less time with family, yes, but I'm also kind of fortunate. My wife is also another content creator.
Hmm.
She does true crime stuff on YouTube under Corgi-san.
Nice.
So you can check her out, and she does live streams as well. And it's fun to be able to kind of spitball ideas back and forth, because she used to live stream on Twitch, and now she's converted to YouTube to live stream like true crime court style documentary stuff. And then from that, we both kind of moved to YouTube, and it's been pretty cool to see like us both grow.
Right. So, Dennis, and when you were starting up and you were doing this, did you ever have any like naysayers? Did you ever have any like did anybody around your circle like ever say like, Why are you doing that? Like you're just wasting your time, or was there anything like that at all, or did you get a lot of good support? I mean,
There was
what did that
probably,
look like for you?
there was probably naysayers, but I guess none of them said it to my face.
Oh,
Um, but I mean, there's always haters, right? And I think what's really cool is in LA, California, or SoCal, there's just content creators everywhere. Like,
mhm.
I feel like you could walk down the street in LA, and like every fourth person, you'd be like, "Oh, didn't I see you in something?" And they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I was in that thing or whatever." Like, there's
No
definitely
way.
so many different content creators everywhere. So it's cool to be around that type of ecosphere where everybody's trying to make it, and now it's probably even more because of like TikTok and everything. And so, do I still feel imposter syndrome? Yeah, 100% every single day. Like, there's bigger creators out there, and me running around like with the camera, like I just do it. Like, I'm just in like, let's just dive into it and then figure it out later.
Yeah, I like that. I'm kind of like the same way too, right? I just rather throw myself in there and then I'll just figure it out because once I'm there, I have no other option but to figure
Exactly.
it out.
Yeah.
But go kind of piggybacking off of that. Do you ever have, first of all, do you ever have hateful comments? I've never seen
Oh,
any on your page, but
100%.
like, how do you deal with that? And for anybody out there who's watching this and maybe they're thinking about putting themselves on camera and maybe they're self-conscious about, a few things, or, like that, or they're scared of maybe some people not having the best comments to say to them. How do you deal with those negative comments and people who just don't, maybe don't like your videos? Like, well, how do you deal with that? Does it
Yeah.
affect you at all?
You have to have thick skin if you're going to be on social media. It's kind of comes with the territory. I read every comment, or at least I try to skim. And at one point in the beginning, and this is a tip for people that are trying to make it, I responded to every single comment. And like I would wake up every morning, open the app and respond to every comment. And I would try and respond with a question back to them so that you could get more engagement.
Uh-huh.
But now I just read and I try and just reply to like subscribers because you can see that just to show that they subscribe. So I should pay more attention to them. But yeah, hate comments all the time. People make fun of I talk too fast or my voice is annoying. So I read them. So you can tell I read them. But
No.
you just take it and you move on with it. Like you have to have thick skin. And I like trolling them back with like saying like someone actually made fun of my Cybertruck today. It's like, oh, like why do you have that stupid anime sticker on the back? And of course they didn't know it was my late dog that I made it into a sticker and put it in the back. And so I was like, oh, that's my late dog. And just, now I know this person, if they read it, they're going to feel like maybe bad about it. Maybe they'll think twice about a comment. But
Is that the most hateful comment you've had?
no,
What's like the most hateful comment, or like the one that you were kind of like, yo, like this is kind of,
I
this is a
guess
little bit too much,
I
or one that
also,
maybe you remember.
I'm also of the mindset, like, I forget things very quickly. Like
Mhm.
I try to, so I don't, sorry, not forget, but I try to make things, I don't dwell on things.
Mhm.
Like if it happens, oh, well, it's like, let's move on. Let's figure it out and move on. Because if
Okay.
you dwell on it, you're just going to spin yourself into a cycle and then it's going to ruin the rest of your day, ruin people around you. So it's like, just move on, like settle it, move on, or read it, digest it and move on to the next thing. But there are comments that, just mostly about like voice and speech talking. And I'm trying to slow it down. And sometimes like there's a topic, but there's just haters out there. And like,
Do you think like, people say like, yeah, I don't like your voice, it's annoying, or like, you talk too fast, but like now that you're telling me this stuff, like, would you say that that's kind of like that's your brand, like that's who you are? You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, when I think of Dennis, like, I mean, I personally don't think you talk too fast, but let's just say like some people may think you do talk too fast, and we could also say like, well, that's Dennis CW, like that's who he is, right?
right.
So if anything, it's kind of like, it's our unique things, right? We all have our unique characteristics, and I think that's what makes up for who you are. But like you said, you got to have thick skin, and I don't think I've had any like hateful comments just yet, but there has been videos that I've made that I choose not to release because I know they're for sure gonna ruffle some feathers, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, I don't know if I should drop this video because I don't know who's gonna get offended out there, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel once you're like, right, you're like, you have to be borderline. I don't want to say crazy, but you got to be different to do stuff
Maybe
like
even
this.
cringy a little
Yeah,
bit.
and
Like,
you have to be cringe sometimes, right?
yeah.
Like you upload videos, and some people just don't have the people are fearful of what other people are gonna say, and like I live a different lifestyle, right? Like I chose a different pathway than most people at my age, so I opened my own business at 24. It was a brick and mortar. I didn't like start online, or like I didn't start a little hobby. I just went full mode, like I want a store and I'm going to open up a store, right? So I find it funny when people expect me to have the same like opinions about certain things, and they get so like surprised when my mentality and the way I think is very different from the way they think. Does that make sense? Like I feel like
Well, hate comments is just people. There's a word for it. I can't. It's like they're putting their own fears of themselves onto you,
projecting.
projecting. Yeah, and so that's what hate comments are. So once you realize that and you read these comments, you're like, oh, well, you're talking about yourself, not me.
Have you ever
You're
had anybody tell you like you need to be more humble? Has
uh
anyone ever said that? Or
no.
like, you have a Cybertruck, but you need to be humble,
Oh,
dude.
actually,
Humble yourself.
yeah, there's people that talk about the Cybertruck and they'll just but that's just hate on the Cybertruck, and then that's just hate on if they own the Cybertruck, not me. Like it's just once you realize that with human psychology, then just like everything is just like a whatever type of thing, and just move on. But I find it the most funniest when, well, like going back to the speech thing, it's like just slow down the video. Or if I talk too slow, just speed up the video. Like the technology is right there.
It
Just
really is.
click.
You could put like 1.25 or
Exactly.
1.5.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's, even for me, right? Like, cause I'm just getting into the space where I'm releasing these videos, and I
Yeah.
see that they get shared. Like I'll have some videos that have like massive amounts of shares.
Yeah.
Well, not massive, but they're like, 30 shares or like,
Yeah.
20 something. And I'm like, I wonder what people are saying, right? Because because internally I'm also thinking like, hey, I share like memes and like other videos that are kind of funny,
Yeah.
and like maybe they wouldn't be, some of those videos that I find funny are not funny to other people, but because I share those videos, I'm like, I wonder if people are doing that to my videos too, and they're like either making positive comments or like bad comments, but I'll
Most
never know,
likely.
right? I'll
Yeah.
never know, and I don't dwell on it, but I just find it interesting. I'm just like, huh, I wonder who's out here sharing like my videos, but
And like with
um
social media, you start to get into this rhythm where you know kind of what title or works and what doesn't, and like the most like polarizing type of stuff works. I mean, just like the videos like the $1 million tin shop, like people are like, "Whoa, what is that?" Like I want a curiosity,
yeah,
like
I
and
actually,
stuff.
I think on that one I got over 100 shares on
Yeah,
Instagram.
because people
And
want like they want to either inspire or talk about it, or like, "Oh, no way that guy does it," or that, "Oh, wow, that's cool. I want to do that," type of
yeah,
thing.
you know what's funny? I had shared that like shared that video, and I was so like nervous about sharing that, right? Because it's very like, I don't want to come off as boastful, and I don't want to, it was so weird, like it was new to me, right?
Right.
But I knew I had to do that in order for me to take the first initial step into like trying to continue to upload videos and give a reason as to why people should watch me,
Yeah.
right? Because I think you really have to give people the sense that you're unique and you're different,
Hmm.
and you have to give them a reason to be interested in what you have to say,
Yeah, if
right?
the clear mission statement, clear reasoning why you're doing this, and whether it's to help people or document or whatever, that has to be a clear
Yeah,
statement.
and I think now, my whole mission is to like give back to people, right?
Yeah,
Let them inside of my mind and the way I perceive things, and the way that I kind of, my values, my ideals, and I just want to be able to share that with people so that not only they get to know me, who I am, as a person, but hopefully to inspire that, hey, you're capable of more no matter your age, right?
right.
Now there's a lot of young people, that are killing it on TikTok, they're killing it on their social media, selling courses and XYZ. But back then, when I first started, like Instagram wasn't so, now, how should I put it? Like you can see other people's pages and videos, and they get suggested for you, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Before
Yeah.
there wasn't any suggestions. So it was all about followers. You had to have like a huge amount of followers, right? But now it seems like what's most important on Instagram now is like you got to have the shares, and you got to have content that is engaging.
Hmm.
So because there's so much content now that you just find yourself swiping
Yeah.
through,
Mindlessly swiping.
mindlessly swiping, right? Like
Yeah.
like the first 2-3 seconds you're like, I don't want to watch this,
Yeah.
no, I don't care. And so it's so competitive now that
Hmm.
you genuinely have to make like really good videos in order for like people to actually engage with your video and watch the full video, right? So
Yeah.
and kind of going off of that, Dennis, if someone was to wanting, someone out there wants to start their YouTube channel, and or maybe even just dropping videos, like what's one piece of advice you would give them? And maybe someone right now is watching and they've always wanted to start that YouTube channel, and they've just been scared of maybe they're not going to make it, or they're not going to do it, or people are going to think they're funny for doing it. What's just, like one piece of advice you can give them? And if you could, and
Yeah. I mean, I would say just do it. I feel like everybody, well, not everybody, but YouTube and social media is a scary thing, but you got to commit to X amount of videos, whether it's 10, 50, 100, or one a week or one a month. Just get up and start doing it and start getting the rhythm of all the different, like getting on camera and editing if you want to go that path. But I would say just do it, because we can get stuck in like analysis paralysis forever. But kind of like just with the business owner, like you probably just like thought about it, did some of the math, and just did it. At some point, execution becomes more important than the idea. And the cool thing with social media, like you're not risking a lot. Like you're risking time, and maybe if you spend money on a camera equipment, but cameras hold value. Like if you buy a used one, you're not going to lose too much money if you go and sell it, especially like if you stay with like Canon or Sony or something like that. And so I would say just do it if you can get the money, or get investors from your family to buy a camera, and just write out and figure out what niche you want to be in. Like my style, I really feel like can be replicated in any niche possible, because I just do breaking news of Tesla deals or Tesla news. If you think about it, that could be like breaking news of kitchenware, like this new pot just came out, or this new coffee grinder that just came out, like, and then there's so many sub niches. Like a good example is like Costco. There's like a sub niche of people that just post like new finds at Costco every
That's
single
true.
yeah,
That's popped up on my
yeah,
feed. There's like a TV stand popped up the other day, and this guy's like, "Look at this," and I
yeah,
was like, "Hey, you know what? Like, I kind of like that TV
right,
stand, right?" And it was so random, but wow,
yeah.
that's
So
yeah.
literally, this style can be replicated on every single type of industry, every passion, every single hobby. It can literally just be replicated. And so I would say pick one, pick something you really love and you for sure you love, and then just commit to 50 or 100 videos.
50 or 100 videos. Got
Yeah.
it. I'm going to take a mental note of that so I can get to my first 50 videos. You know, my goal is to be able to release like at least 30 podcasts.
Nice.
And, you know, not all of them are going to be like interview based, but, um, you know, I feel like I'm just going to create content on, you know, things that I find interesting and kind of just go on a rant if, you know, if like for lack of better words, but, I kind of want to make it more like mindset driven and, you know, business driven. I think that's like the niche that I'm sticking with just because that's kind of what I know, right? And also window tinting. I mean, I'm creating the course right now and I
Yeah.
want to make you know, tutorials on how to do certain things, advanced techniques and what to know about certain cars. And so, you know, but that also comes with like the skill and the skill of window tinting plus the business plus the mindset because I know maybe I've never told you this, but you know, when I opened my shop, it had only been about 5 months that I had learned how to tint, and I
Whoa.
had maybe
Interesting.
tinted
Yeah.
about 5 cars, and each of those cars took me about 9 hours to tint. In fact, my first car that I ever tinted, uh, I started at 8 p.m. and it was outdoors. It wasn't like indoors,
Right.
and you know it took me. So I started at 8 p.m. and I kid you not, I was there till about four o'clock in the morning. And I had
Jeez.
and I promised the client that I was gonna have her car ready by 8 p.m. or by 8 a.m. next day.
Yeah.
So I finished around 4 to 4:30. I cleaned it up and I went through a whole roll of film. I went through a whole box of film, and but and, you know I felt like giving up, dude. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I was so tired because I started my day the day before at 8 a.m.
Right.
And so you know I was about to hit 24 hours without sleeping, but you know, so I had my mindset was like, I gotta finish this. Like I promised her I would have it done, and at 1 a.m. I had forgotten like what I had learned in the class because when I took the course, it was just a 5 day kind of workshop, and like you're in and you're out, and dude, when you start to actually, you're like, shoot, like what do I do here? I forgot because it's so much information
Right.
to take in, and there's so many there's such a huge learning curve, and
So it's kind of like hands-on learning. And so,
exactly, the workshop is hands-on learning,
right.
but
But you learn more by tinting car
by
after
tinting
car
car
after
after
car.
car. The
Yeah.
downside was that back then there was no YouTube where I can like go on there and be like, how do you do a back window and how do you cut this?
Right.
Everything I was doing was like pretty much what they taught me in 5 days. I try to execute the following week, and
Right.
I caught myself, you know, doing a 9 hour job thinking I was so confident, man. I was so confident. Like when she dropped it off, I was like, oh, I got this. It's going to be a piece of cake. Like I know it like the back of my hand, you know,
Yeah.
there's no way I'm going to fail. And sure enough, man, I was there at, you know, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I went through a whole freaking roll of film. I almost didn't have enough left. And keep in mind, a roll of film comes with 100 feet, and a car, it only takes you 10 feet to
Right. It's
tint.
10 cars. You
So
did
I
one.
literally did
Jeez.
like 10 cars in one, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, those are the hardships that we go through and that I went through, right? And in general, that kind of, you know, made me realize and kind of, you know, kept me it kept me on my toes. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? About, you know, hardships we have to go through sometimes to be able to get to the next step in life. And it didn't get easier from there. I mean,
No.
it literally got worse and worse and worse to the point where, you know, I opened up the shop and I just felt like kind of just giving in, and I was like, you know what? Like this isn't for me. Like I don't have it. But my mentality and my mindset, just as a confident person, you know, I've always been very competitive since I
Right.
was, you know, in high school, and it was my mindset that kicked in the moment that I was willing to give up. That reminded me, like, hey,
Why did you do
like,
this?
dude, yeah, like,
Yeah.
remember why you started, and
Hmm.
not only that, but dude, you've never quit. I've never quit any venture that I've ever started. Not even venture in business, but more like any goal that I had committed myself to, I had always finished. Whether it was I was going to fail, but it was like I had to do it. And
Right.
so I had set out when I opened the shop to become the number one rated tin shop. And my mindset was exactly that. So when I felt like giving up, my subconscious mind reminded me, like, hey, dude, you're on a freaking mission to be number one.
Yeah.
And this is just part of that mission. So get to fucking work. You know what I'm
Nice.
saying? And I
Your
kid you
self
not.
drive. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the self drive. And that's what got me over, that hump. And I kid you not, man, once I got over that, literally that episode, I want to call it, because I vividly remember the moment, the time, and, every aspect of that moment. Once I got over that, it was, dude, it was just freaking, it was like a skyrocket. Like I blew
Nice.
up, man. And,
Yeah.
I put everything aside and I started to believe in myself more than ever. And I got over the hump and I killed it my first year. And I was already excited for the second year. And then a boulder came crashing down because that's when COVID hit. And I
Oh,
wasn't even a year in business. So I was already looking forward to like next summer because my business is very seasonal, right?
right.
But in essence, what happened was, a boulder came down, but because I had already gone through a hardship at first, I was like, okay, instead of me saying I'm willing to give up, it was just like, how do I weather this storm?
Right.
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 And so back to the whole thing, it's like, I want to be able to teach people the mindset that you have to, keep yourself competitive with yourself and hold yourself accountable for the goals that you set out.
Right.
Right. So, but yeah, so that's kind of like, going on the whole mindset. That's kind of like my whole social media and the YouTube and all that I kind of want to go on with. But Dennis, so going back on your whole journey of, YouTube and everything, is there any days that you feel like not recording? Like, do you ever have days where you don't feel like you want to record, and, you know, does that ever happen to you? Or does this just like you love it so much that every day you wake up and you're like, hell yeah, I get to record today?
The streaming part, it's I no, definitely not. I feel like days that I don't have the drive to record because I've got it set up now that it's just me at my desk, cameras all. I've built it out so that I've got a travel setup that everything is tucked away. If I'm traveling, then I can load up the laptop and all that. And then my home setup is a completely different setup, so I don't have to touch anything with setup. It's just click a button and go. And I think that was like a key thing that I learned from Meet Kevin. Like, you have to have like the setup ready to go so that it's the less amount of friction to go out. Finding topics, that could be a little bit of a grind. Figuring out what to talk about, but I usually I just push through and I just set a schedule for myself, like every day, 5 o'clock, 5:30, just do it. So the streaming stuff, pretty easy. The vlogging stuff, that's where I'm having a tough time, especially like right now, because it just requires more effort, like going outside and firing up the truck and driving somewhere, because you don't want to necessarily do it at your house. And then just like getting on camera to talk about it and like figuring out like the script and like the beginning scene, the story of it all. And that's tough. And I'm still working through like trying to, how can I make this engaging? Because like the live stream it's just a news broadcast. I just talk and like about whatever's happening. But vlogging or the review stuff is a little bit tougher. And then so it's tough to like get up and go out there and do it. Just really solely because the effort it takes, I guess, to actually get out there.
Right on. Did you ever like plan on offering maybe like a course to people on how to like start their own social media channel and, how to grow their following or anything like that? Or what does the future look like for like, your whole social? Are you just going to do broadcasting, Tesla, or do you ever plan on teaching others how to do these things? Or
I thought about it, but I guess I don't know if that this is where like the imposter syndrome comes into play. Like, I don't know if I'm big enough to create a course like that. And then I even thought like, oh, what if I create like a buying Tesla course? But things change so much that maybe that doesn't make sense either. And so that's where like I wanted to test the Patreon group to then see if I should make a course. And the Patreon group is actually pretty decent, like 400 members in it. But they just get like a guide or a PDF guide of all the different steps on how to get a good deal on a Tesla. And so course, I think the Patreon group is good enough. Like, they get entered into that and they get the guide, and I think that's the most I'll push it.
You know what I would kind of say to the first part where like you said like, you get like the imposter syndrome. I think like, it would be very helpful to like, because I'm a big believer in levels, right?
Right.
So you have people that have 2 million followers,
Mm-hmm.
and you have people that have 100 million, whatever, Mr. Beast. And but then you also have people that, like myself, that I only have 30 followers on my YouTube channel and or subscribers,
Right.
and maybe I'm looking to see how to grow, right? But you're already a step above me, so in a sense it's kind of like you can also help me get there,
Right.
right?
Right.
And then obviously you're not gonna maybe people that have already 50,000 100,000 subscribers, maybe they're not gonna want to know how you do it because you're only at 30 something or 40 something. So what about like those people? Like,
That's true.
would you
Yeah.
ever consider that too? Like maybe people who are just starting out, man. Because I mean, I admire that you have, to me, it's like a huge following,
Right.
right? But
Right.
so it's all like kind of levels, right? That's kind of how I like
I
to
see what
see
you're
the game
saying.
of life. Like,
Yeah.
I do over 100. Sorry, I do over 1 million in revenue a year. So it's like, okay, so I can also be beneficial to people that
Just
have a small
starting out.
business
Yeah.
that maybe are starting out, or maybe they're doing 300,000, 400,000 in revenue. And my knowledge and my expertise can help 3x them to
Right.
1.2, 1.3.
Right. Right.
So it's kind of like, because there's levels to to certain,
That's true.
to the game, like we can all kind of help each other out. So I don't know, maybe that's kind of how I see it. Like I would invest in a course that, teaches me, hey, how to get your first 10,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Well, shoot,
It's a
like,
good point. And like maybe that's like the next thing. Like, I've been kind of focused on, like, every year we all have goals, and like this year was like, okay, how can I make the live stream a little bit more professional in terms of like the clips? And so I did that with an editor, and then maybe next year it's like creating some sort of course. But to me, it's like, oh shoot, like, do I invest? Because like creating a course takes a lot of time. You're probably going through this right now.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
structuring it out, and then recording all the content, and then video editing. And so like that's at least, I don't know, put it 40 hours at a minimum.
Yeah, I think
Um,
yeah, it takes a long time.
yeah. And so like, do I want to invest that? And then there's that fear, like, okay, I put it out there and I get no one, right? So no one that pays. So, and that's why like I did the Patreon group to like test it and to see if people would pay. And it has shown me success. So that is the next step. Like how much more value can I provide to people regarding buying a Tesla, and will people watch like a course when they're already watching me on live streams for free, essentially? So it's tough. Yeah.
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 Well, I would say to go for it, man. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
I think you can do it because, you have this about you, and like I said, I'm sure out of all those followers you have, there's a few people on there
Yeah.
that would be willing to, support you just because maybe they want to start their own channel, and like maybe they're fans of coffee. Maybe they love, like you said,
Right.
the coffee machine, and there's a new coffee machine coming out.
Yep.
But it's like, hey, if the guy that I already like, DENNISCW, is out here selling a course, and he's helping me, he's mentoring me.
Yep.
Sometimes people are more willing to actually go out on their own and start it off because they feel like, hey, I already look up to you, and now you built a course on how to get your first 10,000 followers or first 5,000 followers. I would be more trustworthy of you because you give me kind of like the energy that, hey, like, he believes I can do it, so I'm gonna go ahead and try.
Right. Yeah.
And
And that's why I thought like accessories it's like a logical step, right? If I'm already talking to people like right before they buy a Tesla and they just bought a Tesla, why don't I have my own accessory brand? Like floor mats, phone mounts, and all that? Because I have a bunch of affiliates that I recommend, but it's like, why don't I create like the essentials package? And so I've given a lot of thought to that, and trying to work through partners to do that. But then again, it's like, investing that time to get that off the ground.
It takes a long time too.
Yeah.
But I think you're going in the right direction, man. I'm excited to see you grow, and I think and I've seen you grow too, man. I think like, dude, it blew up with like the Cybertruck. I remember seeing a video. It's like, dude, you had like 100,000 something views, and then now that video is probably like at 200,000. I think, is that the one you were probably? I think
so.
It's the
Yeah.
same one I'm talking about that you talked about earlier.
Yeah, and the Cybertruck's been interesting. It's definitely not an ROI by any means. Like the money generated from the views maybe pays the monthly payment for that month, maybe. But it's about like the people I've met through it. It's been crazy. Like just like outreaching to people, because at that time everybody wanted to film with the Cybertruck, and so like Meet Kevin, I got to meet.
Oh,
really
you know what? I have a question. How did that happen with Meet Kevin? Like, how is it that you guys like interacted and like kind of got together?
Meet Kevin.
How did you make that happen?
You would be surprised that if you just cold DM like all these big people, like a good portion of them, if you got the right messaging and actually showing like thinking for them, like we talk about like thinking for the customer, like that. I think the message I wrote was like, hey, I've got a Cybertruck in LA collab, question mark, short, sweet. This is what I got. You might want it or not. And I just DM'd like a bunch of people and a lot of them responded. Like me, Kevin, we got to do that setup, did that review with him. That was really cool to meet him. He's pretty close. It's not that bad at all. Like Danny Duncan is another influencer that actually responded to me. Alex Choi, another automotive influencer, responded to me. He tried to buy my Cybertruck.
No way.
I met David Dobrik actually. I went to his house. It was like, this is nuts.
No way.
I have a picture of me in his bathroom because I was like, this is surreal. Like I'm at this like crazy house, and David Dobrik, we've all watched the vlogs squad, or maybe not everybody.
Yeah.
I'm in his bathroom, took a picture. You see his like YouTube plaque in the corner, and it's like,
No
this is
way.
nuts. And just on and on, like people that I watch on YouTube. I basically, everybody I watched on YouTube, I just messaged them and say, hey, I've got a Cybertruck. Do you want to collab? And like a
Were
lot
you
of them.
scared of like, oh, like they're probably not gonna respond to me, or did any of that kind of hit you?
No, because it's a cold DM, right? You just, if they don't respond, oh well, it's like it is what it is. They
It's kind of like
didn't
you're back at square one, right?
Exactly.
Where you were anyway.
Yeah,
So,
but at least I tried. Take a shot, right?
yeah.
Like,
So how did that go with like Meet Kevin? Like I'm a huge fan of Meet Kevin, dude,
Yeah.
and like I used to watch his videos religiously, like every freaking day,
yeah,
because he just makes everything so much easier to digest and
Yeah.
like understand what's happening
yeah.
without being so biased. Like I don't even think he's biased, to be honest. He just shares the news.
Bias again with Tesla.
With
shares.
Tesla, yeah, that's true. But more of like just world news and economic news, stock
Yeah.
market. Like I love the content that he puts out. So
And I like how he like he'll be really pro a certain topic, and then he'll also like turn around and like try and like shoot it down.
Challenge
very
it,
kind of
yeah.
like balanced, which is nice. But me, Kevin, I just sent him a DM on X or Twitter at the time, or I don't even know. And he responded. He's like, hey, this is the dates, and I'll be here or here. And then I was like, okay, let's do it. And I drove up to meet him, and it was
was it
great.
weird when you saw him? Like, were you like, dude, I'm really meeting this guy right now? Because yes, dude, he has like what, like
Millions.
2 million, 3
Yeah.
million followers?
Super. It was a crazy experience. So I show up. His producer showed up to meet me first, I guess, because he was still doing something. He checked out the truck. He had a camera person. They filmed B-roll while they're waiting. He shows up, and it's interesting to see how a lot of different content creators and their style. Some of them show up and they're kind of like, oh, don't know what they're doing. Some of them show up, they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what shot. And then others are just like, they only think for themselves and not necessarily for you. But he showed up super nice, really efficient. He's like, hey, let's do this. He'd let me record first, which was really cool. And I just did like a quick react. And then he did his thing, and he just like walked around with me in the video. It's also interesting to see which content creators like included me in their process, and some just like, oh, thanks for the truck, and like they did their thing, and then I did my thing with them. And so that was cool. Like he included me in it. We talked about the truck, and then after he was like, hey, do you want to come to the house? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, do you want to come see where we do all the magic? And I was like, yeah. And so we go to his house.
No way.
It's a separate house. And I got to see the camera set up, the production studio where the people sit down.
In his garage?
Edit. No, the gym is in his garage.
Oh.
The house is like the studio and the kitchen and all that stuff. And like they gave me a little tour. And at first, Kevin wasn't there. He had to go to his real house. And then he shows up later because I thought he was just going to pawn me off to the producer and then I'd be on my way. But he actually came back, talked in the kitchen for a little bit. And then like I asked him some questions and then showed me around. We went on his little like electric go-kart like down the street.
No way, bro.
And then that's it. And then I left. And
That's super cool.
it was cool.
He
actually.
seems like a cool guy too, man, honestly.
Yeah.
And he's actually like, he's around our age group, I think, right?
think
He's
so.
like 30 something.
Yeah.
So like young 30s, maybe 32, somewhere around there.
Yeah. Super nice guy, but definitely like super fast paced. Like his mind is going like a million a minute. Like you're talking to him and he's like talking to you and thinking about the next 3 things probably about what he's going to do that day. Cause he has to be like, he's doing his YouTube, his real estate businesses, all these other things that we have no idea what he could
Course
be doing.
hack and
Yeah,
I don't know
like-
what else.
Like,
yeah.
So he's got to be like,
Does that also help influence you and like, and does it inspire you to be like, wow, like if I want to be a high caliber, high producing individual, like this is kind of what it takes to be that.
It was cool to see that because like we talk about like, you know, is it hard to get up every day and like record and stuff? It's like it helps to see how like the high caliber people do it. It's like, what am I complaining about? Like if I can't just go outside and film a Cybertruck, like these people are doing like bajillions of content and views and stuff. Like I have no excuse. Like just get out there and do it, type of thing.
Yeah, so I think, and I that's what I love, man. That's what I love, and that's why I also want to share like all these videos, because we don't know who's out there, and we're motivating, and
Yep.
maybe they're like, hey, this guy's running a business, he's doing podcasts, he's doing reels, and you know, like, what's my excuse to not start my own side business or my own side hustle, right?
Right.
So I always feel like we always look for those levels, where we got to look for who else is doing better than us, and how we can learn from those people, right?
Yep.
And I think that was good exposure for you, because you
Oh
get to
yeah.
see, I mean, you're in the space too, you're in the industry, so I'm sure you took ideas from there, kind of how you said, right? You went home, you're like, okay, I gotta have everything set up and easy, so when I sit down, it's
Friction.
click of a button and boom, we're live, right?
Yep.
So thanks for watching, guys. If you guys want to give Dennis a follow, see more of his content, his wife also does the true documentary, or the true crime,
Yep. True
right?
crime court analysis. It's YouTube/Corgi-san with 2 A's. So CORGISAAN.
Nice. So we'll go ahead and put all the links down below too, so that everybody can kind of see, your channel, your wife's channel. And yeah, guys, give this guy a follow. If you guys are looking to buy a Tesla or interested in any financing questions that you guys may have, I think his content's amazing. Follow him on Instagram too. What's the Instagram handle? DennisCW?
Yeah. DennisCW_YT YouTube.
Awesome. And thanks, Dennis, for coming by, man. It was a pleasure having you. I know, we only know ourselves kind of like just from like, the shop, but, I was excited to bring you here and have you spend time with me. So thank you for stopping by, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. But
Yeah.
thanks for watching.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Have a good one.